Level 1, the junior associate. You graduate near the top of your class. A prestigious corporate law firm hires you. Glass building, quiet hallways, partners who bill more in a day than you make in a month. You start at the bottom. Long hours research, document review until 2 a.m. You don't meet billionaires. You prepare paperwork for the people who do. NDAs, settlement drafts, contract revisions. You're told it's routine. Standard corporate protection. You make a $10,000 a year. It feels like success. Better apartment, better suits. Then one night, a partner calls you into his office. It's late. The floor is empty. There's a file on his desk marked confidential. A tech billionaire is facing allegations. Internal complaint, potential scandal. Nothing criminal yet. He tells you to rewrite the agreement. Stronger language, permanent silence clauses. Make sure this never becomes public. You don't ask questions. You work through the night. You send the draft at sunrise. He reads it once, nods. Good work. 2 weeks later, the complaint disappears. The employee resigns quietly. No lawsuit, no headlines. You receive a $25,000 bonus. That's when it clicks. The law isn't just about justice, it's about control. And you just helped someone powerful keep it. Level 2, the cleanup attorney. You're no longer just reviewing documents. You're brought into situations, private meetings, closed doors, no email trails. A billionaire client is being accused. Harassment, financial misconduct, nothing proven yet. You don't investigate the truth. You manage exposure. You draft settlement offers before lawsuits are filed. You calculate silence. How much makes this disappear? 250,000, 500,000, sometimes more. You structure payments through holding companies, layered agreements, strict confidentiality. You call opposing counsel directly, calm voice, measured tone. This won't benefit your client if it goes public. Most understand, some resist. You increase the offer. You add pressure, reputation risk, legal fees, time. Eventually they sign. The story never reaches the press. You start earning $250,000 a year. Bonuses tied to discretion. You're invited into private client dinners now. You sit quietly while billionaires talk about markets, politics, competitors. You realize something important. Scandals don't destroy powerful people. Exposure does. And your job is to make sure exposure never happens. Level 3, the discreet negotiator. You're no longer brought in after the damage. You're called before it begins. A journalist emails your client. Request for comment. You see it first. A former partner threatens to sue. A whistleblower drafts a statement. You don't wait for headlines. You schedule a meeting. Private hotel suite. No assistants. No phones on the table. You listen carefully, not to what they're saying, to what they want. Money, recognition, revenge. You calculate fast. 1.2 million settlement. Paid through layered entities signed before sunrise. You add non-disparagement clauses, liquidated damages, binding arbitration. You don't just silence people. You restrict their future. You call the editor directly. Calm tone. This story isn't as solid as you think. Sometimes they push back. Sometimes they fold. You know which publications need pressure, which need access, which need advertising revenue. You build relationships quietly. Dinners, invitations, political fundraisers. Your annual income crosses $600,000. Plus performance bonuses. But the real currency isn't money, it's access. You sit in rooms where mergers are shaped, where investigations are anticipated, where problems are prevented before they exist. You start thinking differently, not how to defend, but how to neutralize. You realize something important. Courtrooms are for amateurs. Real power works in private, and now you're trusted with it. Level 4, the political connector. You're no longer negotiating scandals. You're preventing investigations. Regulators return your calls not because they like you, because they know who you represent. A federal inquiry is rumored. You hear about it before the target does. You schedule dinners, private rooms, no staff inside. A campaign fundraiser happens next week. Your client attends. A donation is arranged. Perfectly legal, perfectly timed. You introduce a senator to a CEO. A future board seat is implied. Nothing written, nothing recorded. A subpoena is quietly narrowed. An audit is delayed. A committee shifts focus. You never ask directly. You suggest, you connect. You imply consequences without stating them. Your income passes $1.5 million a year. Retainers replace hourly billing. You're no longer a lawyer. They hire. You're a lawyer. They keep. You manage political risk, regulatory exposure, strategic timing. You know which agencies are aggressive, which are distracted, which need guidance. You attend private policy events, closed-door conferences, luxury retreats where billionaires and lawmakers share drinks. You realize something deeper. Power isn't in the courtroom. It's in who controls the conversation before court ever happens. You don't fix scandals anymore. You root them. And the higher you climb, the fewer people you can trust. Because now you hold secrets that don't belong in public. And secrets like that make you valuable and dangerous. Level 5, the crisis architect. It finally happens. A federal investigation becomes public. Search warrants. News fans outside headquarters. Stock price dropping by the hour. Your billionaire client calls you first. Not his board, not his family. You don't panic. You assemble a war room. Crisis PR forensic accountants. Former prosecutors on retainer. You control the narrative immediately. Full cooperation, misunderstanding, internal review underway. You prepare statements before charges are filed. You identify weak points, emails that shouldn't exist, transactions that need context. You isolate liability, shift responsibility downward, mid-level executive, external consultant, someone replaceable. You negotiate behind closed doors, deferred prosecution agreements, civil penalties instead of criminal exposure. You restructure ownership, move assets into trusts, separate personal wealth from corporate risk. You advise silence when needed, aggression when useful, delay when strategic, speed when necessary. Weeks feel like years. Media pressure rises. You stay calm. Eventually the charges are reduced. No prison, heavy fine, public apology. The company survives. So does your client. Your retainer for this case, $4 million plus long-term equity. But money isn't the real shift. You just prove something. You don't just manage scandals. You engineer survival. And the more powerful your clients become, the more catastrophic their failures can be, which means the next crisis will be bigger. And so will the stakes. Level 6, the Shadow Counsel. You stop taking new clients. You choose them. 3 billionaires, maybe 4. That's it. Private jets, encrypted calls, no assistants on the line. You operate outside normal channels. No firm letterhead, no public appearances. You're introduced quietly. Trusted advisor. You don't draft contracts anymore. You design structures, asset shields, family offices, multi-layer trusts across jurisdictions. You anticipate threats before they surface. Political shifts, regulatory crackdowns, emerging investigations. You prepare exit strategies years in advance. Second passports, emergency liquidity, relocation plans. Your annual income passes $8 million. Retainers paid regardless of crisis. Plus silent equity in ventures you helped protect. You attend meetings where governments are discussed like variables, where markets are moved with a phone call. You see how fragile power really is. One leak, one betrayal, one election cycle. You advise caution, discretion, patience. Sometimes you advise silence. Sometimes you advise sacrifice, a controlled loss to avoid a catastrophic one. You are no longer solving problems. You are shaping outcomes, but something changes. The more you know, the less replaceable you become. And people this powerful don't like dependencies. You hold secrets that could ruin fortunes, destroy legacies and careers, which means you're no longer just valuable. You're a risk, and risks get managed. Level 7, the power broker. You no longer wait for laws to change. You help shape them. A new regulation is proposed. You know about it before it's public. You arrange meetings, private offices, closed policy dinners. You introduce the right people. A billionaire to a senator, a CEO to a committee chair. Nothing illegal, just access. You draft position papers, technical language, subtle revisions. One clause removed, one exemption added. It passes quietly. Your client saves billions. You don't appear anywhere. You build networks that outlive elections. Advisors, chiefs of staff, regulators who owe you favors. You place allies in strategic roles, board appointments, advisory councils, foundations. You stop billing hourly. You negotiate equity, quiet stakes in companies before policy shifts. Your wealth compounds, not through fees, through foresight. You attend private retreats where billionaires and lawmakers speak freely. No cameras, no transcripts. You learn how fragile governments are, how influence moves faster than votes. You're careful. Too visible is dangerous. Too invisible is replaceable. You walk that line precisely, but power has gravity, and the higher you rise, the harder the fall. A journalist starts asking questions. A watchdog group files requests. Your name surfaces in a report, not as a criminal, as a connector, as someone always in the room. And rooms like that eventually get investigated. Level 8, the Untouchable. Your name stops appearing in reports. Not because you left, because people stop writing it. Investigations open, then stall. Whistleblowers speak, then retract. A lawsuit is filed, then quietly settled. You don't react anymore. You anticipate. You know which prosecutor is ambitious, which one wants a judgeship, which one needs funding. You advise your clients where to donate, where not to, which regulator is overreaching, which one can be redirected. You don't threaten, you influence. A competitor suddenly faces an audit. A journalist loses a source. A board member changes their vote. None of it traces back to you. Your net worth passes 100 million. Equity, private stakes, offshore trusts. You don't live loudly. No flashy interviews, no public persona. You operate in the background. Your phone rarely rings unexpectedly. When it does, it's serious. You hold secrets about senators, CEOs, governors. Secrets that could end careers. That's what makes you untouchable. But untouchable doesn't mean invisible. A new administration comes in. New prosecutors, new priorities. Old favors mean less. You sense the shift. The protection isn't gone, but it's thinner. You built a system that protects the powerful. Now you have to ask yourself, who protects you? Level 9, the liability. The calls slow down, not because there are no problems, because clients are cautious. A new attorney general takes office. Campaign promises include corporate accountability. Old investigations are reopened. Names resurface. So does yours, not as a defendant, as an advisor, as someone present in too many rooms. A former client is subpoenaed. He cooperates. Another faces indictment. He negotiates. You're not charged, but you're mentioned in footnotes, in sealed filings. You request copies through back channels. You read them carefully. You realize something uncomfortable. You protected everyone, but no one will protect you. Retainers are paused. Equity stakes quietly diluted. Board seats reassigned. Phone calls become shorter, colder. A journalist leaves a voicemail. You don't respond. A watchdog group publishes a report. Your name appears 3 times. No accusations, just patterns, connections, influence. You understand how this works. When pressure rises, sacrifices are made. Not always publicly, sometimes quietly. You consider exit plans, asset restructuring, residency changes, distance. But distance doesn't erase history. The same system you navigated for years is shifting. And for the first time, you're not the architect. You're a variable. Level 10, the call no one answers. The phone rings less than not at all. New fixers take meetings you once controlled. Your name fades from private invitations. You still have money, offshore accounts, equity, real estate held through layers. But access is different from wealth. A former client avoids eye contact at a conference. Another hires younger counsel, more discreet, less connected to old administrations. You're not charged. You're not arrested. You're simply excluded. A journalist publishes a long investigative piece. Your name appears again. Not accused, just mapped, connected, influential. You don't respond. Public defense invites more questions. You retreat. Smaller circle, fewer appearances, no panels, no speeches. You review your career in quiet moments. The settlements, the deals, the policies shaped behind closed doors. You protected empires. You redirected investigations. You influenced outcomes most people never saw. And now you're a cautionary story in private conversations. Don't become too visible. Don't hold too much. Power likes loyalty, but it fears memory. You built systems that protected the powerful. But when the climate changed, you were the easiest adjustment. No dramatic ending, no courtroom finale, just distance, silence, and somewhere right now, a young associate is being called into a partner's office. A file sits on the desk marked confidential. The cycle continues.